Thank you. How many of you are builders? Raise your hand. We have only one builder? Two? How many of you are traders? Raise your hand. How many of you are investors? Okay, cool. Good to know. And I'll tell you a little bit about Octant. We've done a lot of different things in the space. I like to think we're Ethereum's best kept secret. In the last couple years, we launched in end of 2023. We've run 12 funding rounds, a lot more partner rounds as well, and we've given over $17 million in grants funding in ETH, all from staking yield. So it's been super sustainable. A bit about me, I lead all things marketing, grants, and growth. I am also a grants nerd, so I co-authored the State of Web3 Grants Report in 2023 and 2024. Have been on the Polygon Community Treasury Board, on Arbitrum DAO's grants side as well, is on Gitcoin Thrive, so basically a lot of grant stuff. And was previously working on media startups and whatnot, but that's not important. How many of you are familiar with Ethereum? Raise your hand. Okay, cool. I love that we have more ETH folks here. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about what Ethereum's best kept secret is, which is Octant. And we've been helping Ethereum grow in the last 2.5 years, quietly. These are some of the stats from our 2-year anniversary last year. We have given over 2,341 ETH in grants funding, no strings attached. And again, all of our ops are sustainably funded through Golem Foundation's ETH Treasury, which they do a lot of really good things with. So some of the things in terms of what our support looks like, obviously we run grants rounds and have been doing that consistently. But there's builder support, we have content creator programs, we have accelerator programs, and we invest a lot into the grant side of things from the impact research side. So to understand not just what is being funded, but is it effective? And how can you get better at funding different themes, at funding different aspects of grants, and really just getting better at that. So these are some of the projects that we have funded and who have consistently received funding from us. We have Protocol Guild, who have received 263 ETH. Of course, if you are in Ethereum, you will know how impactful their work has been, so amazing contributions. We've also funded open source projects like the Tor project, L2Beat, Roadkey, Revoke Cash, HyperCerts Foundation, Grow the Pie. And there's a lot of others, Shutter, Solidity, EAS, funding the Commons if you've been there. And this is just like a small glimpse from Grow the Pie's own page on projects. We run different themed funding rounds as well. So if you are a builder, you are looking for a grant, definitely check out our funding rounds and what themes we're running, and you may be able to qualify for this. These are some of the partner rounds that we've done because we do a lot of funding experimentation, and we like to co-fund things with other partners as well. So we have done a bunch of things with the Ethereum Foundation's funding coordination team, Giveth, Jokeray, so just like different formats, different organizations too who are ETH aligned. And we've also done things even outside of the crypto ecosystem and climate funding to see, one, how adoption could look like, and to be able to run a lot of different experiments in terms of adoption and seeing how communities can participate in funding decision making. So a lot of cool things on that front. But the question is, like, how have we funded so many grants? Through DeFi and through staking. Unfortunately, our industry is not best for sustainability, but I'm really proud of the fact that we've been able to make really good use through the sustainability side. We've run our own validators. The DeFi vaults that we launched last year, we've actually started to deploy capital into as well. And the sustainability side is pretty cool because the payment splitters are able to directly automate funding to projects that we want to continuously fund. So today I'm going to unpack a lot of lessons from these funding rounds, applications, and grantees, because I see a lot of different angles, and a lot of times I've heard people say that grants don't work, they're ineffective. That's probably because most organizations don't do them right. So some of the lessons, right? The first one, because we've had the benefit of having a small team, we realize that every part of a grants round can be an opportunity for growth. So from the application cycle to reviewing them to the actual funding, you can bake an engagement and viral loops into the cycle. So you can educate people about what you're building. You can actually get people to get really creative. There are so many different ways that you can have that be part of the process. And when you do it well, there's just a lot more that you can get out of giving the same amount of funds. Other lessons. So direct grants are usually more effective in some cases. We notice, and we've done a lot of comparisons. We've run community grants rounds where anyone with the GLM token can lock their token, or if you have ETH, you can lock it, and then you get matched from the matching fund. But a lot of times people don't always know what gets funded best. And so direct grants can be more effective sometimes, but it depends on what you're trying to do. If you really want strong decision making from a community, make sure your selection of projects is great. If you have a good project, no matter who gets funding, it's going to go in a positive direction. So that's important. Really understand what you're getting into. One thing I realized with most grants teams is that they just had a surplus of funding. They thought one ecosystem's doing grants, we should do them too, instead of thinking through why and what the point is. And the more specific that you can get in terms of grants, I think the more effective you can be. Never announce a program without a call to action. And that's super important because a lot of times the most visibility you get is when you announce something. So making sure that people can share it, apply, share interests, like making sure that you're getting them into your communication funnel is super important. And then the most important aspect of it was that they're ineffective without support layers. So if some of you are participating in the hackathon today, it's not just about getting access to, that one track or grant. The thing is, like, most ecosystems are trying to get builders that will stay. And if you want builders that will stay, you have to understand not just the financial aspect, but what are other things that can support good builders, right? The first one is most projects that we came across did not know how to sell or monetize well. And so that's one aspect you really have to work on if you're trying to build a support layer, which can make a big difference. A grant can be, you might get like a small grant today, but if you can actually help and support builders in terms of being able to sustain themselves, you don't have to worry about continuous grants for them. You're kind of actually sort of doing their job for them. So that as a support layer can work really well. It's super important. Again, fundraising is super new, especially to earlier stage builders. And so if you're preparing them to fundraise by, one, helping them understand how to pitch, how fundraising cycles work, how the VC cycles work, and then I think if you're running an ecosystem well, you will actually, them raising funds is really good signal for your ecosystem. So helping them with that can make a big difference. When we ran our accelerator program, we were able to really level up a lot of projects in this way, and it made a big difference from that perspective. Cohorts work really well. So what I mean by that is don't just have sporadic funding going out. And if you are participating in a program as a builder, if you see other projects that are doing really well that are part of a small group, again, having a cohort makes a big difference, right? So making sure you have a good selection of projects that can energize each other, and through doing well are getting others to also perform better. That can have this really infectious energy, and it makes others want to do better. So I think the cohort formula works really well, and everyone's trying to grow. You really have to bake in the action part. And what I mean by that is it's cool to say, hey, this is what you should do, but if you're making them do the thing, you're actually contributing to their growth. And so enabling doing for growth is super important. Accountability, that's really great. If you reward that, you get more results. And if you're more results driven, you will have your funding in the form of a grant go so much further. And then support layers, that worked really well. And we tried this with a few different ecosystems, and I think this is sort of what it compounds to. Marketing and GTM support is super important. So if you have really good mentors, coaches, or partners who can help projects with this, it's super valuable. That's a great support layer. Intros and network access, right? A lot of times it's about getting into the room where decisions can be made. Who is a decision maker you can introduce someone to, understanding what their needs are. Another thing I noticed here was some people think they want access to a certain person, but they don't understand that another person might actually be better for them. And so I think that matchmaking aspect is super important. And as the person bringing everyone together, you need to kind of understand that better. Stress testing ideas For example, if there is a feature and you have limited funds, should you really be building this thing? Is it actually going to move the needle in terms of distribution and users and whatnot? That's super important. And then press on content, right? Launch workshops. One of the things we did with our programs is we made people launch something. We only chose projects that would be willing to ship. And if they weren't willing to ship in the 2-week format, then they weren't a good fit. So that helped us get them to really just exposure therapy, right? Where you're getting them to launch and you're getting them to create content, to share more about their journey. All of these things can be new. They're not new ideas, but when you have someone in an experience where they have to do it, it just leads to more action. So that was really great. And one thing which, like the final budget part, that part I think is what was surprising, or I guess not as surprising given the industry we're in, but if you help projects with their roadmap planning, with their budget, and with their limited funds, instead of having like big idealistic visions, really get to the nitty-gritty and help them plan better. That's super helpful too. So the tighter your scope, the better you can filter for the best applicants. As a grants designer, this was one of my biggest learnings, is like the more specific you make your grants around, you don't need thousands of applications, you just need the right 10 projects sometimes to participate. But one of the things, and a couple of things that I think we have to be prepared for as we move into more agents working on everything is first, AI slop from agent analysis, right? We're seeing a new time in grants where you have agents applying, you have agents evaluating. We participated in our first agentic hackathon with the Ethereum Foundation. It was called Synthesis, and we were kind of really disappointed with some of the results. Like some of it was very interesting to learn, but we realized there's still a long way to go. So figuring out if you are applying for a grant, make sure that you're not just writing AI slop and you are actually double checking and making sure that everything's great. Cross-compare for bias. So we're constantly running tests where we have agents evaluate, then we have human evaluation, and we compare the results. Context is a big thing here. And then regional representation. This is really important for some of the themes that we had, where a lot of times, especially in regions where you won't always have the best communicators, but you will miss out on the best builders if you don't have regional representation and context there. So it adds a lot of richness to the grantee pool, and you're able to meet a lot more. So I think like that kind of perspective is important. So if you are applying for a grant, it's tougher than ever because you're also competing with everyone's agent at this point, right? So how do you make the cut if you are trying to get funds? There's a few ways. There's a few ways you can differentiate yourself. First, understand what's important to the team. So whenever someone's running a grants program, and there still are grants are not dead, but the scope is super specific now. So understand what the team is trying to achieve, the organizing team. You can do this by attending live streams. You can look at what they're tweeting, look at the language, really dig deeper into understanding what is important to this team. What are they trying to get out of running a program like this? No one gives out free funding, right? So what are they actually trying to get to? If you understand this, you can unlock what to write in your application. And what does success look like? Is it going to be they want more traction? Do they want more users, distribution? Like there's so many different angles. Is there a specific area they want to see a success story in? If you can understand that, you have also done part of the work, so that's important. Show results. Anytime we see applications, we will always bet on the project that has been doing things instead of talking about doing things, right? So let your results show why betting on you is a winning strategy. And the best builders will be able to show that they've done things, have it be your weekend project, like test things out, especially in that domain, and make sure that you're really differentiating yourselves, because the one thing that will make a difference is proof of the things that you've done. And then when you're doing that, make sure you're talking about it too. Tweet it out, post it on wherever you're comfortable with in terms of socials. But building excitement around you as a builder can be a big differentiating factor. So that's always a big part. And there's always teams that look at a bunch of different avenues to see proof of what you've done. Keep in mind, people are mostly probably looking at hundreds of applications. There's a few seconds they get to look at your project specifically, so make sure you make their job easier. As a grant selector, you're sort of accountable for who you're choosing. So you want to make your team, especially if people don't know who you are, as like the winning team to bet on. And the best candidates, again, are not those who sound like AI slopper agents. I think that's like a big one. you can, in an easy way, explain what you want the funding for, and the value of giving funding to you will lead to the best results for the ecosystem. And then actively building distribution and success, right? Stories. I think that's super important, because if you can show that you're like a really competitive team who will do great, of course people will want to work. I think another thing here is don't apply with really big budgets if it's your first time in an ecosystem. If you're not familiar with the team and you don't have a lot of success proof points, start small with a smaller scope. This is my advice to any grant application, or even if you want to work with a partner. I think start small, show that you can deliver really well, and then scale from there, because that will make a big difference in terms of how you're perceived. And again, working as a first time, I see a lot of absurd asks where it's like hundreds of thousands of dollars, but we can't understand what they've done in the past. We can't really understand why they want all that funding. And it just becomes really tough to evaluate. So if I see an easy enough to understand scope, sometimes it'll be an automatic yes. And I think another thing is you can always get funding even if it's not in a grant cycle. That's the thing people don't realize. They just don't know how to do it. So do cold reach outs, definitely try to understand. If you can, again, I think it all goes back to if you understand what's important to the team, you can always pitch for things. And if you're looking at our team, we're always looking for builders who are doing cool things. So even if it's experimentation that we haven't done before, we're always open to that. So if you're a builder and you want to apply to our funding rounds, check out our socials. We have our next funding round coming up next month. We're going to announce a theme in a couple of weeks, so definitely check that out. If you want to use DeFi for your ecosystem in terms of vaults and payment splitters, and you want to sustainably fund your ecosystem, come say hi. We'll be around here. These are our 2 links. Our Twitter is our best place for a lot of our real-time updates, and that's my Twitter as well. I don't even know what I tweet. I just whatever is interesting, honestly, most of the time, if it's not Ethereum stuff. But if you want to reach out, if you have an interesting idea, if you are building here in the region, please reach out to me. Again, this is our first time here in Korea, so it's been really cool to meet so many of you and to meet so many interesting projects here. And Erica and the team have done an amazing job here of really just building this event out. But yes, I'm here until Sunday. So please reach out, even if not here. Our team is super accessible online. So wherever you reach out to us, we will get back to you. And again, we are super invested in wanting to see Ethereum thrive. And so, there's a lot of funding out there, and we are still consistently giving out funding. That's me, and that's Octant. Thank you.
Thank you. Good work, good work.